The grants that you are referencing have been paused and reevaluated to make sure that they are truly being spent in the way to which they were appropriated.
Well,
many of these grants were being diverted into things they were never intended
These funds were passed on a bipartisan basis by members.
Absolutely,
in
and
this
the Biden
Congress.
administration perverted them in how they used them, diverted them to facilitate illegal immigration, to house people in places like the Roosevelt Hotel, who held illegal criminals
We're
that took the
talking,
life
Madam
of
Chair,
Laken
about
Riley.
$100
I think all of us
billion.
have
It is
recognized that
not credible
the
to
victims
me that
here
all
are
the
the people who have
recipients
died
of
and
that.
lost their children because
Madam
of this
Secretary,
situation.
it is not credible, Madam Chair. It is not credible that $100 billion is used to break the law. That just cannot be true.
Senator Patty Murray came into this hearing with fire, and she didn't waste a second. From the start, she made it clear that Secretary Kristi Noem's leadership at the Department of Homeland Security has been, in her words, lawless, cruel, and incompetent. And honestly, the receipts she brought to the table speak volumes.
Thank you very much, Chair Britt, and I look forward to working with you and Ranking Member Murphy in this Congress. Madam Secretary, as Senator Murphy mentioned in his opening statement, Secretary Noem, under your leadership, we have seen you ignore our appropriation laws, our Constitution, common sense, and even basic humanity. And like a lot of Americans, I really have been horrified by the lawlessness and incompetence and cruelty that we have all witnessed. And for all the talk about going after criminals, you have sidetracked DHS staff who are investigating drug dealers, terrorists, human traffickers, and rather than photo ops, we need more of your focus on providing basic diligence, because your crackdown has roped in American citizens and people who are here legally with no criminal record. Now, I'm not going to ask you whether that was right or wrong. I know it's wrong. The world knows it's wrong. And I think the first thing that history is going to say about your leadership is that you were responsible for many of these travesties. So I'm deeply concerned. You've deported a 4-year-old U.S. citizen with cancer. You've disappeared people to a notorious prison in El Salvador. And you have spent $100 million in taxpayer dollars to air TV ads thanking President Trump. That is really reckless. It's unacceptable, and in my opinion, can't continue. The American people are paying for this with our taxpayer dollars and with their most basic rights. Now, in the last 3 months, you have frozen or canceled over $100 billion in funding that was approved by Congress, bipartisan. We are talking about everything from disaster relief to grants that keep people safe. But when my staff has requested information on the status of this unacceptable holdup, the department failed to provide any acceptable justification. This illegal freeze, and it is illegal, is taking a real toll on communities who are waiting on the investments that Congress has delivered. So will you commit to immediately unpausing these funds?
Well, Senator, thank you for covering a lot of topics there. Let me touch on a few of those right away.
Well,
what the
if
Trump
you could
administration
answer,
is doing
I know
is
you've
enforcing
you
the law for the first time. Under the Biden administration,
I'm asking you about the funds
illegal
that are
aliens were prioritized over American citizens. Now the scales of justice have been leveled, and
Madam
no one
Chair,
is
I'm gonna
treated
reclaim
better
my
than
time
anyone
because
else.
I asked you a
Citizens
specific
are
question.
treated the same,
Madam
and these
Secretary,
illegal
I know
aliens
your
and criminals
answer.
are being
I heard
deported.
it previously. I'm asking you a
The
specific
grants
question.
that you are referencing,
Correct.
the grants that you are referencing have been paused and reevaluated to make sure that they are truly being spent in the way to which they were appropriated.
Well,
many of these grants were being diverted
Madam
into things they
Secretary,
were never intended
these
to.
funds were passed on a bipartisan basis by members
Absolutely,
in
and
this
the Biden
Congress.
administration perverted them in how they used them, diverted them to facilitate illegal immigration, to house people in places like the Roosevelt Hotel, who held illegal criminals
We're
that took
talking,
the life
Madam
of
Chair,
Laken
about
Riley.
$100
I think all of us
billion.
have
It
recognized
is not
that
credible
the
to
victims
me that
here are
all
the
the
people who have
recipients
died
of
and
that.
lost their children because
Madam
of this
Secretary,
situation.
it is not credible, Madam Chair. It is not credible that $100 billion is used to break the law. That just cannot be true. And let me change this a little bit. On the other hand, I am very concerned that DHS is now dramatically overspending funding that Congress has not provided. If you were a CEO doing that, I don't think you'd be in your job long. We need accountability and we need answers. And that includes informative responses to oversight questions sent to the department over the last 3 months. I am ranking member on this committee. I have worked with every member of this committee. We take our responsibility serious to fund your department and others. We need to have answers, we need to have accountability, and we need to make sure you're not overspending money that you were not allocated.
Well, thank you for that question. I will be very
not really a
clear in the
question, it's a
fact.
statement.
Do you want me to respond?
Well, you can.
Well, I've worked many jobs in my life, but I also have been a CEO. I've run
I'm not
businesses. I've been a
questioning your
governor.
credentials. I'm
and it
questioning
is
your spending.
We are prioritizing where our security needs are in this country, and we are hoping that this body will agree that reconciliation is necessary to address the things that have been neglected in this country for too long, that we have the technology upgrades, the manpower upgrades that are necessary. So the $170 billion request for the Department of Homeland Security
Madam
is
Chair,
incredibly
my time is
important
running
to make
out,
sure
and
we
I
have the
do have a
tools that
couple
we
of
need.
additional questions. The fact is that you've not been given this funding. Saying that it's going to come in reconciliation that has not passed is not an acceptable answer. I did want to ask about FEMA and disaster relief. This is really important. A lot of disaster relief has been politicized. You've endorsed eliminating FEMA outright. We have seen an upheaval at FEMA that is going to put lives in jeopardy. 1 in 5 FEMA employees have been pushed out, taking this administration's so-called buyout offer. We are losing indispensable staff just weeks away from fire and hurricane season, and over $100 billion in disaster relief and FEMA grants are still being held up. DHS is making it a lot harder to qualify for relief, something people in my home state of Washington are experiencing firsthand. Multiple requests from governors have been rejected in recent weeks, including a request from our state. And we haven't been given any response about this, and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, has President Trump directed you to prioritize funding for Republican states?
Absolutely not.
Have you directed your staff to prioritize funding to Republican-led states over Democratic
Absolutely
states?
not.
Have
There
your
is, under
staff-
this administration, there will not be any politicization of support, relief, FEMA assistance, or grants given based on politics.
Well,
Every single person
there
will be
is a
treated the same.
clear
It will be very
trend,
different than the Biden
Madam
administration.
Secretary, there's a clear trend of Republican-led states getting very fast responses and funding. Democrat-led states are being forced to wait. We have never treated FEMA as a partisan issue in this country. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Senator Murray painted a devastating picture. Under Noem, DHS has deported even American citizens, including a 4-year-old child battling cancer. She accused the department of wasting $100 million of taxpayer money on TV aides praising Donald Trump, while freezing over $100 billion in bipartisan-approved funding for disaster relief and community safety. This is not just bureaucracy gone wrong. Murray framed it as outright illegality. When her staff asked DHS for explanations on why the funding was blocked, the department couldn't provide any credible justification. That's not oversight. That's obstruction. And here's where the clash sharpened. Noem defended her moves by claiming Biden perverted grants to house undocumented immigrants. But Murray hit back hard. She pointed out that claiming all $100 billion was misused just doesn't pass the smell test. Instead, she accused Noem of dramatically overspending funds that Congress never approved, something that would get any private sector CEO fired on the spot. Then came the most explosive part, FEMA. Murray accused Noem of gutting the agency, forcing out staff right before fire and hurricane season, blocking relief grants, and ignoring governors' disaster requests. And Murray didn't mince words. She asked point blank if Trump had ordered Noem to prioritize Republican-led states over Democratic ones. Noem denied it, but Murray pointed out a very clear trend. Red states get fast-tracked, blue states are left waiting. This exchange wasn't just about policy details. It's about power and accountability. Murray is signaling that under Noem, DHS isn't functioning as a neutral agency safeguarding all Americans. Instead, it's becoming another partisan weapon with real human costs. Think about it. If disaster relief gets distributed based on politics, that undermines the very principle of federal emergency response. And here's the bigger takeaway. Appropriations, the power of the purse, belongs to Congress, not the executive branch. When a DHS secretary freezes or diverts money approved by both parties, it's not just mismanagement. It's a constitutional fight. Senator Murray's message was sharp, Secretary Noem. History will not look kindly on your record. But the question now is, will Congress step up to hold DHS accountable? Or will this pattern continue unchecked? What do you think? Should DHS leadership face consequences for withholding disaster relief funds and politicizing grants? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you want more people to see this, and don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns of these explosive hearings.